Hey guys, and happy Veganuary. Now this Veganuary, you might be looking to cook up some tasty new meals to have on a Sunday. You know, those kind of hearty meals that please yourself and the whole family.
Now Sunday dinners are traditionally quite meaty, and you might have a skeptical person sat at your dinner table, and if you want to prove them wrong and show them that plant-based food can be amazing on a Sunday, this is the video for you.
We've got 5 delicious plant-based vegan, but they don't seem like they're vegan recipes for you. Now let's get into it. This is my favorite of them all. It's a classic lasagna.
Oh my goodness, lasagna is good any time of the week, but Sunday definitely perfect.
Totally, it's that day when you've got like an extra 2 hours maybe to put into cooking something. Because let's be honest, lasagna is a labour of love.
It definitely is, and this is why you should get other people involved too. So say if you're there with your girlfriend or your boyfriend and they're just twiddling their fingers, get those fingers active and get them to chop some onions.
Now what we're doing with this classic lasagna, what we were aiming for is a proper pared back version of a lasagna. Not too many frills, not too many out there flavours, just a really tasty mince. In this case, we're using mushrooms. It's gonna take the place of the meat, and then you've got your simple tomato ragu, the pasta layers, and of course, a simple pared back bechamel.
And talking about layers, this is the reason why lasagnas take a little bit longer than usual, because you are just like slowly building those flavors up like we're doing here, like putting all of that carrot and that onion in right at the beginning, and then the mushrooms, and then the wine, and just building things up.
Of course, we're gonna let all of that come together, simmer down. We want those mushrooms to really lose their moisture, dry out a little bit, and the wine, you don't want to taste the alcohol. So you really want to simmer this and cook it low and slow. And that's the thing with the lasagna. You are just cooking all of that flavor into it.
And the thing is with lasagna, because usually it's got beef mince, it has a lot of umami. And what we've tried to do with this, with that red miso paste, is get some umami in there.
Absolutely, and of course you can play with different ways to add umami. You know, you've got things like soy sauce is a great way to add umami, balsamic vinegar. There's so many different options for what you could add to this, but what I find is best is just to keep going through, tasting as you go and thinking, what does this need?
Exactly, yeah, it's definitely, just make it your own, but this is a really, really amazing way of making a very unctuous, fantastic bechamel sauce. Look at that, there's loads of oil in there, admittedly, but it's so worth it every once in a while.
I mean, we never said this was a healthy recipe. This is indulgent eating.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing you should be having 20% of the time, no more.
Absolutely. Now, one of our favorite things in the whole world is nutritional yeast, AKA nooch. We've got loads of it in there, but if you wanted to even add more cheesiness, put more nooch in.
Also, did you know you can now buy Bosch nooch in the supermarkets?
It's black and orange, it's definitely well worth having in your cupboard, and Henry and I are there waving hello. Hello!
It's packed with B vitamins and protein, a really great thing to get into your diet.
Now it looks like we've got all of our different elements assembled, and now it's about the creation.
Now what we're gonna do, if you haven't made a lasagna before, is to layer and layer and layer. First of all, we'll put some of that lovely ragu down, then a layer of that bechamel, and then we're gonna put some dried pasta sheets on top. And then we'll keep repeating that until we're done. Funny story about these lasagna sheets. You want to go for the egg-free variety, right Ian?
That's exactly right. In fact, for the launch of our second book, Bish Bash Bosh, we hosted this big event at this posh venue, and we spoke to the guy, the head chef, who had just made 8 lasagnas, and he was like really proud of it and really proud of the fact that he had found really nice egg lasagna sheets, and we were like, not so sure.
This is a vegan event.
Yes.
It's the event for loads of people who eat vegan, and you can't serve them egg lasagna sheets.
Yeah, so make sure that when you're buying those lasagna sheets, you check the ingredients, because you don't want to be stung with some egg lasagna.
In the end, we served burgers, but you won't have to, because you're going to follow the recipe right. And the final piece of this is that beautiful bechamel, some fresh herbs, and then bake that off in the oven.
It does look incredible, that, doesn't it?
It's so hearty, and as I said before, it's one of my favourite things to eat on a Sunday.
And I'm just going to throw it out there, the crispy bit on the side is probably the best bit.
Oh, totally, a little bit burnt.
Oh, mate.
That's what you want.
Because you just get that nice texture on the outside of the crunch and the nice texture on the inside of the sort of nice smoothness. And talking about smoothness,
shepherd's pie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is one of our most popular recipes to date. This is the kind of recipe that people come up to us all the time and tell us that they love our shepherd's pie.
And I can absolutely see why, because the reason here is we've just got so many flavors. And again, like we said in the first video, we're just building up that flavor, just one layer at a time, just making it tastier and tastier with everything that goes into the pan.
rosemary, thyme, proper like hearty, earthy, woody herbs. You've got the garlic. Those sun-dried tomatoes are gonna add a real nice kind of zestiness, acidity to the whole mix. And again, we've gone for mushrooms as a great meat replacement.
Now, if you don't have a food processor for mincing your mushrooms, a good little tip, a good little hack is to use a box grater and just to grate the mushrooms, because it does more or less the same job.
That's a great tip.
It's not bad.
A touch of yeast extract is gonna go in there. That's gonna give us that kind of umami, unctuous flavor, along with some tomato puree for, again, the nice color, the flavor, and to turn everything a bit more brick red.
Now, more red wine is good, but obviously if you're going to use red wine, get a vegan red wine. If you're wondering how to find out that information, go to barnivore.com. Make sure you get the biggest bottle going, because then you can drink the rest.
And the final piece to our puzzle is some of those lentils. That's going to make this really high in fiber, high in protein, and just high in bite as well.
Oh yeah, I love those lentils, especially those poi lentils, because they're just perfect. Like your mouth just likes them.
Yeah, and they're pre-cooked, so we're not going to have to cook them before. That means they can just go straight in without worrying about their doneness.
Now, plant-based milk on top of some nicely cooked mashed potatoes with some dairy-free butter, you are onto a winner.
And of course, this is a shepherd's pie, so that is going to form the mash that's going to go on the top of our pie. But we like to pimp ours out a little bit, so try some mustard, salt and pepper. That goes through it really nicely.
If you had some vegan horseradish sauce, that would go really well too.
Oh, totally.
So yeah, because I suppose horseradish and mustard are quite similar. They've got that sort of warmth to them. They just give that the potato just a little bit of oomph.
What about if you were to do it with wasabi and make a green top?
A Japanese shepherd pie.
How about that for an idea?
That'd be cool. That'd be
then
amazing.
you can put sprouts in the top of that.
Oh, come on, that's actually genuinely a great idea. But we'll watch this space, Bosh TV, because that video is coming soon.
It'll look like a meadow with a green top and then sprouts on top.
And then you could do a middle, you could do a massive Mount Fuji potato mountain.
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
We're getting off topic here. Now, that bad boy, because we've used the fork to make those little ridges, after about half an hour in the oven, you're gonna get those lovely brown little bits.
Now, look at this. We've got the shepherd's pie there, and it's great, obviously. And then we've got the peas in the bowl, and they're great too. Now, I'm gonna throw something out there. Ketchup or no ketchup?
Oh, it's criminal. You can't put ketchup with a shepherd's pie.
See, I don't know. I think
you get sent to prison for that in the UK.
How about brown sauce?
Still.
I think a little bit of something on the side is not bad. Oh, okay, all right, so to settle the argument, a little bit of whole grain mustard.
Okay, I think you might be allowed the mustard. And now we want to get into our mini mushroom Wellington. So these are going to be really, really healthy versions of our bigger mushroom Wellington. The cool thing about these, we make these little parcels with phyllo pastry, and they're perfect to serve one person or two. They do look very, very good. Don't they? They look really, really good. I mean, if you went to any kind of restaurant and ordered that, and that turned up, you'd be like, okay, well, they've won the battle of the eyes. Yeah. As long as you get that nice browning on top, you do want to make sure they don't look too white. Yeah, that's very, very true. But they look like little, little chaps in hats. Little chaps in hats, little potato people. It's amazing. So look, what we're doing here is not only are we blending our mushrooms, but we're blending up some red onion at the same time. This is just a really nice hack for saving time, You could, of course, chop all of this stuff with a big knife and a very big chopping board, but we just like to blitz it. It just saves on time. Exactly, and now we've got some wholemeal bread and some cooked chestnuts, which are going to form a really nice sort of breadcrumb, which is going to go really nicely with those mushrooms. Oh, yes. Essentially, what we are making here is a kind of filling inspired by a mushroom duxelle, which would traditionally go outside the meat in a Wellington. Obviously, we're not using meat because we don't eat meat, but we're gonna surround a mushroom in that filling, in that duxelle, and then pop him in a little pastry. But before we do that, we have to cook this down just a touch, because yes, we do. That mushroom mince needs a little bit of white wine. Just does, because that white wine's just going to add flavour on flavour on flavour. Absolutely, we want to cook this down, we want to increase all those flavours, we want to make sure we've softened the flavour of that garlic as well, sweat out the liquid from those mushrooms, and then we're going to stir through some breadcrumbs and start to make our filling. Now it's very wise idea here, just to sort of take note of the texture, because look at that, it's not too wet, it's not too dry, it will clump together really nicely, and that's exactly what we're after. Now phyllo pastry is what we're going for here. Look, you want to get those squares kind of at 90 degrees to each other. At 45 degrees, isn't it? At 45 degrees to each other, so that you've got almost a star. 2 of those sheets is perfect, and then we're going to wrap up that filling with a little mushroom inside into a beautiful little chap with a hat.
I mean, that does look really, really good. It's like a pastry rose. And in order to sort of set off some of the oil, we've used a spray because it's a lot less in the way, it's not going to cover it completely.
Exactly, this is lower in fat, it's lower in processed carbohydrates, there's less pastry altogether. It's just 2 very fine sheets, but we've got our roast dinner trimmings there, a nice healthy gravy, and that is a proper healthy roast dinner.
Fantastic centerpiece. It's a really fun way to make a fantastic dish that's perfect on any Veganuary Sunday dinner.
And that was from our book Healthy Bosh, but we've just given you the recipe here for free. You can also check our website bosh.tv.
And this is the final video in this selection. This is our wonderful, creamy seaside pie.
Oh my goodness, do you remember when we cooked this for Prue Leith?
Yes.
British culinary sensation, Prue Leith. We went round to her house and cooked this for her.
She really enjoyed it, and you can see why, because this is a truly phenomenal dish, and it's another way of using mushrooms in a completely different way to what we've used them in the previous 3 vids.
And what we're doing here is we're using mushrooms to replicate the fish that would go into a fish pie, and we're also going to inject loads of fishy flavour into that pie as well. So you've seen those nori sheets have gone in. That's a really nice hack because they absolutely impart that flavour of the sea.
And white wine is the sort of thing that you would associate with seafood, so that's why we've used it here. And those mixed mushrooms have just got so many different textures.
Lemon is another great angle for getting in that kind of fishy flavour. And of course you'd always want a little bit of umami. So we've got some nooch in there as well. We do love a bit of nooch, don't we?
Oh, nooch is the one.
And of course some mustard goes in there too to give it just that little peppery bite.
And now we're gonna get some soy cream in there, because what we're trying to do is get a nice creamy filling, because that's exactly as it is in a proper fish pie.
Now fish pie reminds me of like Cornwall in the United Kingdom. It's the kind of thing you'd have in a beautiful little Cornish village by the sea. Tiny, tiny little houses and little white and blue wooden boats.
And you'd have it on Sunday with a pint of like real ale.
Yeah, you'd be in the local pub, which is also tiny.
Yeah, and now, obviously, any decent fish pie needs a really nice, creamy, flavourful mashed potato that's laden with dairy-free butter and dairy-free cream, and that's exactly what we're making here.
I mean, that is perfect.
How do you make your mashed potatoes? Let us know in the comments below. Is there any tips or tricks that you want to share with anyone?
And do subscribe if you haven't already. We make videos like this almost every single day.
Absolutely. And look, peas are in there. Peas are my fave. Loads of mushrooms, loads of potato. You just know that this is going to be a really great dinner to have on a Sunday.
I mean, that is beautifully done right there. Again, we're going to use that fork to create those ridges, kind of like the waves of the sea, and that's going to get really nice and crispy and brown.
Look at how golden it is. It's just cooked perfectly. That knife has just gone... We need, is it ASMR?
ASMR, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need just then to hear that.
Auto-stimulus meridian response. Something like
well remembered, that is very good. Again, peas, you don't have to use peas if you don't like them. You could use a bit of kale or a little bit of spinach, or, do you know what? Some griddled asparagus.
Or chips.
Or chips.
Pie and chips is always a good answer.
Yeah.
And that is a wonderful thing. It's a vegan fish pie with those wonderful mushroom slices, all of that flavour. Such a good thing for a Sunday afternoon.
And that recipe lived in our first book, Bosh, which is now the biggest selling vegan cookbook of all time. I lied before. The last time, with that video I said it was the last one. It's not, because this is the last one.
This is our ultimate vegan mac and cheese covered in toasted breadcrumbs, and it's from our book Speedy Bosh, which means it's incredibly fast.
Now, we called it ultimate mac and cheese because we truly believe that it is indeed the ultimate mac and cheese. Why? Because it's just downright delicious.
Now, as with loads of vegan recipes, we're going to use cashews to create a nice cream, but instead of soaking them in water, we're going to soak them in dairy-free milk in a pan, quickly cook them, allow them to cool slightly, and then blitz that in a blender. Always check the manufacturer's instructions though, so that you don't hurt yourself with that hot milk. But that's going to make a really nice, speedy bechamel. Yeah, a powerful blender is absolutely necessary here to make sure that those cashews are as smooth and as well mixed with that milk as possible. Next up, we are going to take that hot milk and let that cool slightly, and then move on to the rest of the bechamel. Now we're going to make a little roux here, but to make that roux super flavorful, we're going to pop some garlic in, and we've minced that garlic with either a microplane or a garlic crusher. Now you will mix up some flour into that oil, which is a typical way you'd make a roux, and then gradually add that cashew milk together. And that gives us a really quick, through super fast.
Look at how creamy that is. I mean, and also, don't worry, because it will sort of clump together and it will look a bit weird, so it will get there eventually. When it does, it'll be well worth it.
Consistency is key too. And talking about consistency, we're going to improve the consistency of this dish by adding some vegan cheese, let that melt through. Dijon mustard and nooch. Nooch, baby!
Yeah, nooch is the one here. And also, because if you're worried about B12, which a lot of new vegans are, that is the best way to get B12 into your diet.
Apart from a spray.
If you're making macaroni cheese, you need to have some macaroni noodles, and that's exactly what we've used there.
Now, to finish this off, we're just gonna quickly toast up some breadcrumbs. We're gonna use a pan rather than doing these in the oven because it's quicker. Get that pan super hot, touch of oil, and stir these bad boys until they are nice and golden brown.
Yeah, look at that. They're super crunchy, they're super delicious, and there they are, adorning the top of that golden mac and cheese. So you've got the smooth, kind of soft nature of the cheese and the crunch of the crumb coming together perfectly. Oh.
All in under 20 minutes.
All in under 20 minutes, come on.
That is a proper speedy recipe, and that is probably our best mac and cheese recipe yet. And do you know why I think that is?
Why?
I think it's the little touch of mustard.
I think the mustard goes an awfully long way. I think obviously the nooch goes a long way as well, and that vegan cheese into the sauce, great idea.
I mean, it's cheese upon flavour, isn't it?
Yeah, and like honestly, if you love mac and cheese, you need to give that a whirl. It's delicious.
So there you have it. They were our absolute best winning Veganuary Sunday dinners.
Yeah, I mean, Sunday dinner, Veganuary, there's 5 options for you. Make sure you cook one, and if you do, let us know in the comments below.
They're definitely treat meals. We hope you love them. Do subscribe if you want more recipes like that, because we make these videos almost every single day.
And if you are doing Veganuary, good luck.
We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.